I've been sober for 2 years, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the only reason I'm still sober is because I set 5 non-negotiable boundaries in early recovery. Without these boundaries, I would have relapsed within weeks. In the next 5 minutes, I'm breaking down the exact boundaries that saved my life. Let's get into it. Boundaries aren't just helpful, they're literally the difference between staying sober and relapsing. And most people get this wrong because nobody explains how critical these really are. Boundary number one, and it's the hardest. You have to cut off people who are still using, period. I know it sounds brutal. These might be your closest friends, people you love, people you've known forever, but here's the truth. If you're trying to stay sober and they're still using, one of two things will happen. Either they'll pull you back into using, or your sobriety will make them so uncomfortable that they push you away anyway. When I first got sober, I tried hanging out with the same people, telling myself I was strong enough to stay clean around them. I wasn't. Within 2 weeks, I relapsed because just being around it was too triggering. This boundary looks like deleting numbers, unfollowing on social media, avoiding the spots where you know they'll be, and saying no even when it hurts. And yes, it feels lonely at first. Yes, it feels like losing everyone. But the people who truly care about your recovery will respect your boundaries. The ones who don't, they weren't friends, they were using buddies. Your sobriety is more important than any friendship. Protect it ruthlessly. Boundary number 2, no romantic relationships in the first year. Boundary number 2, no romantic relationships in your first year. I know, you think you're different. You think this relationship will help you stay focused, give you something positive to hold on to. I thought that too. I was wrong. Early recovery is emotionally unstable. You're dealing with withdrawal, cravings, learning how to feel again, rebuilding your life from the ground up. Add a romantic relationship on top of that, and it becomes a perfect storm. What usually happens is the relationship becomes the new addiction. You use it to fill the void substances used to fill. Then when the relationship hits normal problems, you don't have the coping skills to handle it sober, and you relapse. I've seen it so many times. Someone gets sober, jumps into a relationship, things get intense, then fall apart, and boom, relapse. Give yourself that first year. Build your foundation. Learn who you are sober. When you're stable, you'll be able to build relationships from a healthy place. Boundary number 3, avoid old triggers and places. Boundary 3, avoid old triggers and old using environments. This sounds obvious, but you'd be shocked how many people test themselves by going back to old hangouts. Don't do it. For me, that meant avoiding certain neighborhoods, certain houses, even specific gas stations. It meant skipping parties for months. It meant changing my entire routine. What most people don't understand is that triggers aren't just mental. They're neurological. Your brain has wired certain places, smells, and situations to using. When you encounter those triggers, your brain fires up cravings automatically. So this boundary looks like taking different routes home, skipping events where substances will be present, avoiding old friends' basements where you used to smoke, even if it means missing out. Early recovery isn't about maintaining your old life without substances. It's about building a new life entirely. Boundary number 4, attend support meetings consistently. Boundary 4, commit to consistent support. AA, NA, smart recovery, therapy, whatever works for you. I cannot overstate this. I tried getting sober alone countless times. It never worked. The only time I stayed sober was when I had accountability and support. Addiction thrives in isolation. It grows in secrecy and shame. Meetings force you to talk, to listen, to remember why sobriety matters. Set a schedule and treat it as non-negotiable. For me, it was 3 meetings a week minimum. Some people do 90 and 90. Find your rhythm, then stick to it. And don't just show up, participate, share, ask for help, get numbers from people with time, build your network. And here's the key. If you feel tempted to skip because you're doing fine, that's exactly when you need a meeting. Boundary number 5, be ruthlessly honest about your struggles. Boundary 5, be ruthlessly honest about your cravings and struggles. This was the hardest for me. I used to hide everything. pretend I was fine, white knuckle through it alone. But in recovery, silence is dangerous. Cravings are normal, bad days are normal. What's not okay is keeping it to yourself until you break. This boundary looks like texting your sponsor when you're triggered, calling someone from your group when you're struggling, being honest with family instead of pretending everything's fine. I remember one night about 3 months sober, I had the worst craving of my life. I was sitting in my car outside a liquor store. Instead of going in, I called someone from my group. We talked for 40 minutes. The craving passed. If I had stayed silent, I would have relapsed. Honesty takes the power out of cravings. Secrets make them grow. These 5 boundaries are non-negotiable if you want to stay sober in early recovery. Cut off people who still use. No relationships in the first year. Avoid old triggers and places. Attend support meetings consistently. Be ruthlessly honest about your struggles. Will these boundaries make your life harder? Yes. Will you lose people? Maybe. Will it feel lonely at times? Absolutely. But here's what they gave me. 2 years of sobriety. A life I actually want to live. Real relationships. Self-respect. Hope. If you're in early recovery, protect your sobriety like your life depends on it, because it does. Resources are linked below. This is Recovery Bridge. It's never too late to build a bridge back to yourself. See you Friday.
With drugs was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. No one prepares you for what it's like to watch your sibling, your best friend, turn into someone you don't recognize. If you're in that spot right now, this video is for you. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to share what I wish someone had told me about supporting a sibling through addiction without completely losing yourself in the process. Let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. This video is for siblings of people struggling with addiction. Not parents, not friends, siblings. Because your role is different. This is the person who was supposed to be your teammate in surviving your family, and suddenly they are the crisis. And almost nobody talks about what that does to you. Part 1. It's okay to be angry. First thing I wish someone had told me, it's okay to be angry at your sibling. All the attention goes to the person struggling with addiction. Parents are scared, stressed, trying to fix it. The focus is always on them. Meanwhile, you're watching your brother or sister lie, steal, manipulate, and blow up your family. And somehow you're expected to just be understanding and supportive. Here's the truth. You can love your sibling and still be furious with them. You can want them to get better and still resent what they've put you through. My brother stole money from me. He got high and wrecked our mom's car. He missed my 16th birthday because he was in jail. I loved him deeply. And I was also so angry some days I could barely look at him. You do not have to feel guilty about that anger. It's valid. They hurt you. Addiction doesn't erase the damage that's been done. Acknowledge the anger, talk about it, but don't let anyone tell you you're a bad sibling for feeling it. Part 2. You can't fix them. Second thing, you cannot fix your sibling no matter how hard you try. I spent years believing if I just loved my brother enough, said the right thing, showed up every time he called, he'd stop using. I covered for him with our parents. I gave him money when he said it was for food. I stayed up all night talking him through withdrawals, thinking this time it would be different. None of that fixed his addiction, because addiction isn't about not being loved enough. It's a disease that hijacks their brain. Until they decide they want help, nothing you do can force that change. Your job is not to save them. Your job is to take care of yourself and set boundaries, so their addiction doesn't destroy you too. You know who they really are underneath the addiction. You see that version of them so clearly, but they still have to choose recovery for themselves. You can't want it hard enough to do it for them. Part 3. Set boundaries even when it hurts. Third thing, you have to set boundaries even when it feels like you're abandoning them. This was the hardest part for me. My brother would call me crying, saying he needed help. I would drop everything. Then he'd steal from me or lie to me again. And the cycle continued. Setting boundaries looked like this for me. Not giving him money, no matter what the story was. Not covering for him with our parents. Not letting him stay at my place after he got kicked out. Saying, I love you, but I can't help you until you're serious about treatment. It felt cruel. It felt like I was turning my back on him when he needed me most. But here's what I learned: enabling isn't helping, protecting them from consequences isn't love. It's giving the addiction more room to grow. Boundaries aren't about punishing your sibling. They're about protecting your own mental health and making sure their choices don't take you down with them. Part 4. Your family dynamics will change. Suddenly, everything revolves around your sibling. Family dinners are tense, holidays get canceled because they're in rehab, missing, or high. Your parents are stressed, arguing, and constantly on edge, and you become invisible. Your achievements don't get celebrated because your parents are exhausted. Your problems feel small compared to your siblings' overdose or relapse, so you stop bringing them up. This is called being the forgotten child, and it's incredibly isolating. Here's what you need to do. Find support outside your family. A school counselor, therapist, trusted teacher, coach, or a friend's parent. Someone who will listen to what you're going through without turning the conversation back to your sibling. You deserve support too. Your feelings matter. Your life matters. Don't shrink yourself because your sibling is in crisis. Part 5. Recovery is possible, but it's messy. Fifth thing. If your sibling does get into recovery, it's not a fairy tale ending. It's messy, it's nonlinear, and it takes patience on both sides. My brother's been sober for 3 years now, and I'm incredibly proud of him. But early recovery was rough on our relationship. He was dealing with guilt and shame. I was dealing with resentment and trust issues. He wanted things to go back to normal right away. I needed time to heal from the trauma of watching him almost die more than once. Recovery for the whole family takes time. Your sibling has to rebuild trust. They can't just expect everyone to pretend nothing happened. And you have to give them room to grow without using their past as a weapon forever. It's a balance. Some days it still feels fragile, but it is possible. Families do heal. Relationships can be rebuilt. It just doesn't happen overnight. What you need to hear. If you're watching this and you're in the middle of this right now, here's what you need to hear. You are not responsible for saving your sibling. You are not a bad person for being angry or needing space. You are not selfish for protecting your own mental health. Loving someone with addiction is one of the hardest things you will ever do. It's okay if you don't have it all figured out. It's okay if some days you're supportive and other days you can't even answer their calls. Find support, talk to someone, set boundaries, and remember, your life, your mental health, and your future matter just as much as your sibling's recovery. This is Recovery Bridge. It's never too late to build a bridge back to your sibling, but please take care of yourself first. I've linked some resources for siblings in the description if you need a place to start.
Drugs, but their behavior will, and if you know the signs, you can catch it before the spiral starts. Today I'm breaking down the 5 red flags that show up early. And red flag number 3, almost every parent misses it. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. If you've been feeling that something's off with your teen, trust that instinct. Today, we're not talking about typical teen mood swings. We're talking about specific, recognizable behavioral shifts that point to substance use. Catching these early can literally save your child's life. Red flag number 1, dramatic and sudden changes in sleep. Not staying up late on weekends, I mean sleeping 16 hours straight, then being wide awake for 2 days. Falling asleep at random times or the opposite. Up all night, every night. Different substances affect sleep differently. Stimulants keep them wired. Opioids and benzos make them drowsy and detached. Watch for passing out at weird times, sleeping through alarms, looking exhausted even after sleeping all day, or having manic energy at 3 a.m. for no reason. Red flag number 2, money or valuable items disappearing from your home. When teens start using, they need money. And when their own money runs out, they take from family. You might notice $20 missing from your wallet, prescriptions running out early, gift cards gone, jewelry or electronics disappearing, or them selling their own stuff for way less than it's worth. Parents often doubt themselves, but repeated patterns matter. Look for constant money borrowing, selling valuable items, defensive reactions when questioned, or pawn shop receipts. Red flag number 3, a sudden and complete change of friend groups. Teens shift friends naturally, but dropping lifelong friends overnight and only hanging out with new people, especially older teens you don't know, is different. When a teen starts using, sober friends often pull away, so they seek out people who won't question their behavior. Watch for refusing to introduce new friends, getting picked up by cars you don't recognize, zero contact with old friends, and being secretive about who they're with. If they get angry when you mention their old friends, that's defensiveness protecting their new lifestyle. Red flag number 4, their appearance and hygiene noticeably decline. A teen who used to shower, change outfits, and care about how they look suddenly stops caring at all. Signs include wearing the same clothes for days, skipping showers, not brushing teeth, dramatic weight changes, bloodshot eyes, dilated or pinpoint pupils, constant sniffing or nosebleeds. Some drugs cause skin picking, others cause nodding off. Across the board, substance use destroys self-care. Also watch for sunglasses indoors, long sleeves in hot weather, eye drops everywhere, and gum or mints to hide odors. Red flag number 5, a sudden collapse in school performance. One bad grade is normal, but going from honor roll to failing several classes, that's a major warning. Substance use destroys focus, sleep, motivation, and attendance. Watch for skipping classes, missing assignments, sleeping through school, behavior issues, teachers reaching out about changes, losing interest in activities, or truancy calls you didn't know about. If your usually motivated teen suddenly doesn't care about their future, that's addiction rewiring the brain. If you're seeing 3 or more of these signs, it's time to act now. First, don't explode in anger. Fear is real, but anger pushes them deeper into secrecy. Second, have a direct, calm conversation. Not, are you doing drugs? Instead, I've noticed you're sleeping 16 hours, your old friends are gone, and your grades are crashing. I'm worried something serious is happening. Talk to me. Third, get professional help immediately. A doctor, therapist, or treatment center can help you understand what's really going on. Don't wait for rock bottom. Early intervention saves lives. The signs are there for a reason. Trust your instincts. This is Recovery Bridge. It's never too late to build a bridge back to your child. Resources are below. See you Friday.
Are you okay? I'm worried about you. My thumb was hovering over the send button, but I didn't send it. I told myself I was overreacting, that he'd be fine, that I'd talk to him tomorrow. 3 days later, my best friend was dead from fentanyl poisoning. This is the story of the text I never sent and why I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. This video is different from our usual content. This isn't about education or statistics. This is about my best friend Jake, the text message I was too scared to send, and the fentanyl crisis that's killing teenagers at a rate we've never seen before. If you're watching this and you're worried about a friend, please don't make the same mistake I did. And if you're the person someone's worried about, please understand that the next pill you take could literally be your last. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the reality of fentanyl. Jake and I had been best friends since middle school. We played on the same basketball team, stayed up late gaming together, told each other everything. He was the kind of person who made everyone around him laugh, the kind of friend who'd drive across town at 2 in the morning if you needed him. Junior year, things started changing. His parents were going through a brutal divorce. His dad moved out, his mom was working 2 jobs, and Jake was basically raising his younger sister by himself. He started missing basketball practice, stopped responding to group chats as much. When I asked if he was okay, he'd say, "Yeah, man, I'm fine, just tired." That's when I first noticed him hanging out with a different crowd. Older kids. Kids I knew were into harder stuff than just weed and drinking, but I didn't say anything. I told myself it wasn't my business, that Jake was smart enough to handle himself. Then one night, maybe 2 months before he died, we were hanging out and I saw him pop a pill. I asked what it was and he said it was just a Percocet his mom had left over from a dental surgery. Said it helped him relax, helped him sleep. I remember feeling uneasy about it, but I didn't push. I just said, "Be careful, man." That was my first mistake. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing things. Jake was always either super energetic and talkative, or completely zoned out and nodding off. His eyes looked different, smaller pupils, glassy. He lost weight, started showing up to school looking like he hadn't slept in days. One time I saw him in the bathroom at school and his hands were shaking. He said he just hadn't eaten breakfast. Another time he borrowed $40 from me and said he'd pay me back Friday. He never did. When I brought it up, he got defensive and angry in a way that wasn't like him. His grades tanked. He quit the basketball team, said he just wasn't into it anymore. I'd text him to hang out, and half the time he wouldn't respond. When he did show up, he wasn't really there. It was like talking to a shell of the person I used to know. But here's the thing, I knew something was wrong. Deep down, I knew, but I convinced myself I was overreacting, that he was just going through a hard time with his parents' divorce, that he'd snap out of it, that bringing it up would make things awkward or make him mad at me. So I didn't say anything. I watched my best friend slip away, and I did nothing. It was a Friday night, about a week before he died. I hadn't heard from Jake in almost 5 days. No texts, no snaps, nothing. He'd been completely MIA. I was sitting in my room, and I just had this overwhelming feeling that something was really wrong. So I opened my messages and started typing. Hey man, I'm really worried about you. You haven't been yourself lately. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here if you need to talk. And if you're using something stronger than just weed or pills, please be careful. I care about you, and I don't want anything to happen to you. I read it over probably 10 times. My thumb was hovering over the send button, but then I started second-guessing myself. What if he got mad? What if I was wrong and he thought I was accusing him of being a junkie? What if he stopped talking to me completely? What if I was making a big deal out of nothing? So I deleted it. I told myself I'd talk to him in person, that a text wasn't the right way to handle it, that I'd wait until Monday at school and pull him aside then. Monday came. Jake wasn't at school. Tuesday, still not there. Wednesday morning, I woke up to 50 missed calls and texts. Jake had overdosed Tuesday night. His mom found him in his bedroom. He was already gone. The pill he took wasn't even a real pill. It was a counterfeit Percocet pressed with fentanyl. He probably thought he was just taking the same thing he'd been taking. But this one had enough fentanyl in it to kill him within minutes. Here's what I need you to understand about fentanyl. It's not like other drugs. It's incredibly powerful in tiny amounts. A dose the size of a few grains of salt can kill you. And it's being pressed into fake pills that look exactly like Xanax, Percocet, Adderall, anything. Dealers are cutting it into everything because it's cheap and keeps people addicted. But they don't care about dosing. One pill might have barely any fentanyl. The next one from the same batch might have enough to kill you. It's literally Russian roulette. Jake didn't think he was doing anything that dangerous. He thought he was just taking a painkiller to deal with stress and help him sleep. He had no idea he was playing with something that could kill him instantly. And here's the part that destroys me. If I had sent that text, would it have changed anything? Maybe not. Maybe he would have gotten defensive and ignored me. Maybe he was already too far gone to listen. But maybe, just maybe, he would have read it and realized someone cared. Maybe it would have planted a seed of doubt that made him think twice before taking that pill. Maybe he would have reached out. Maybe he'd still be alive. I'll never know. And that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. If you're watching this and you're worried about a friend, send the text, make the call, pull them aside and have the awkward conversation. I don't care if it makes things weird. I don't care if they get mad at you. I don't care if you're wrong and they're totally fine. Because here's the truth. An awkward conversation is nothing compared to standing at your best friend's funeral, looking at their parents sobbing, wondering if you could have saved them. Tell them you're worried. Tell them you care about them. Tell them that if they're using, especially if they're taking pills they didn't get from a doctor, they're risking their life. Tell them about fentanyl. Tell them that one pill can kill them. And if you're the person someone's worried about, If you're using right now, please listen to me. I know you think you have it under control. I know you think you're being careful. I know you think it won't happen to you. Jake thought the exact same thing, and now he's gone. There's no safe way to use street pills right now. None. You cannot tell if a pill has fentanyl in it just by looking at it. You can't taste it. You can't smell it. The only way to know is to test it with fentanyl test strips, and even then, you're gambling with your life. If you're struggling, if you're using to escape pain or stress or trauma, I get it. But there are other ways. There are people who can help you. You don't have to do this alone. Jake would have turned 18 last month. He should be applying to colleges right now. He should be annoying me about which basketball shoes to buy. He should be here, but he's not. And I have to live with the fact that I saw him drowning and I didn't throw him a lifeline because I was scared of making things awkward. Don't be like me. If you're worried about someone, say something. If someone's worried about you, listen to them. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call the numbers linked below. This is Recovery Bridge. It's never too late to build a bridge back to yourself, but for Jake, it is. Don't let that be your story.
Everyone else. But what if I told you that 5 simple behaviors could mean you've already crossed the line from social drinking to something way more serious? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand. Let's talk about the 5 signs your social drinking is actually alcoholism. And trust me, number 4 is the one most teens completely miss. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. Look, I get it. Everyone drinks at parties, your friends do it, it feels normal. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Alcoholism doesn't start with drinking alone in a dark room. It starts with friends, at parties, looking exactly like what you're doing right now. Today, we're breaking down 5 specific signs that separate normal teenage experimentation from real addiction. And before you click away thinking, that's not me, just hang on. Because the teens who need this message the most are usually the ones who swear they don't. Let's start with the first sign. You drink to feel normal, not to have fun. Ask yourself why you reach for that drink. If you're already having fun and you drink to enhance the vibe, that's social drinking. But if you drink to become fun, to stop feeling anxious, to fit in, or to escape your emotions, that's different. That's medicating. What it looks like, you feel awkward before the party, so you pre-game alone to loosen up. You can't imagine going out without drinking first. You drink to stop feeling stressed or sad. Here's the science. Your brain is learning that alcohol equals relief. Every time you drink to feel better, you're teaching your brain it needs alcohol to handle normal life. That's psychological dependence. And here's the scary part. Teen brains wire for addiction up to 5 times faster than adult brains because they're still developing. That means this pattern can take hold before you even realize it. You might think it's just a coping tool, but your brain is taking notes. It's saying, this is how we handle stress now. Over time, the more you rely on alcohol for comfort, the less your brain learns to handle emotions naturally. Imagine this. Every time you drink to feel better, it's like turning down the volume on your natural emotional coping system. Eventually, your brain forgets how to handle stress, joy, and connection without alcohol's shortcut. That's when things start to spiral. You stop drinking for fun and start drinking to feel okay. Sign number 2, you can't stop at 1 or 2 drinks. Social drinkers can have a beer or 2 and call it a night. But if you say, I'll just have 1 and wake up barely remembering what happened, that's a big red flag. Real life version. You plan to have just a couple but always end up wasted. Your friends stop drinking but you keep going. You black out and think it's funny or normal. Maybe you've started to accept blackouts as part of the weekend. You might even joke about it, but deep down, you're uneasy. This is called loss of control, one of the clearest signs of alcoholism. When you drink, your brain's decision-making center, the prefrontal cortex, literally shuts down. For people developing addiction, it shuts down faster and stays off longer. That's why you wake up wondering why you kept drinking even after you told yourself to stop. Here's the truth. The people who can't stop once they start aren't weak. They're wired differently now. Their brains have built a pattern where the moment alcohol hits, control switches off. That's not willpower. That's biology. And understanding that is the first step toward getting your control back. The third sign, your drinking is causing problems, but you keep doing it anyway. Normal people stop doing things that mess up their lives. Addicted people can't. Examples. You've gotten in trouble at school or with your parents, but you still drink. You've embarrassed yourself or hurt someone, then said, never again. But next weekend, you're back at it. Your grades, relationships, or reputation are taking hits, but alcohol still wins. Maybe you've noticed your mood changing too. You're more irritable when you're not drinking. You're fighting more with people who care about you. Maybe you've even started lying to cover things up. These are all signs that alcohol is running the show. That's what we call continued use despite consequences, the clinical definition of addiction. Think about it. If something was destroying parts of your life and you couldn't stop, that's not a lack of willpower, that's a hijacked brain. Now let's talk about sign 4. And this one flies under the radar for a lot of people. You think about drinking even when you're not drinking. Social drinkers don't obsess over it. They have a drink, they move on. But if you're counting down to the weekend, daydreaming about your next party, or replaying your last night out in your head, that's preoccupation. You might notice it in little ways. You start planning hangouts around where alcohol will be. You scroll through your phone and smile at old drinking photos. You feel restless or bored when you can't drink. That's your brain's dopamine system, the motivation center, getting rewired to expect alcohol. It's the same brain pattern seen in gambling, gaming, or drug addiction. You're training your brain to look forward to alcohol the way a runner looks forward to a finish line. But there's no finish line. There's just the next drink. If you tracked your thoughts for a week, you might be shocked by how often alcohol shows up. Normal social drinkers rarely think about it at all. But when it becomes a daily thought, that's your brain telling you alcohol has become a priority. And finally, sign 5. You get defensive when someone questions your drinking. If your gut reaction to this video is anger, annoyance, or justification, that reaction is a sign in itself. Maybe you compare yourself to people who drink more to prove you're fine. Maybe you downplay how often you drink or argue with people who care about you. You might say things like, everyone does it, or it's not that serious. That defensiveness is your brain protecting the addiction. If your relationship with alcohol were healthy, someone bringing it up wouldn't bother you. You'd just say, yeah, maybe you're right. But addiction doesn't let you do that. It convinces you to defend it. Here's what's happening in your brain. Alcohol hijacks your reward and reasoning centers. It tells you that drinking is essential for comfort and belonging. When someone threatens that connection, your brain reacts like it's being attacked. That's why even well-meaning conversations about drinking can feel so personal. Now here's where I want to slow down and talk about the part people skip, the hope. If you saw yourself in 3 or more of these signs, you're not just partying like a normal teenager. You're showing real signs of alcohol use disorder, and I know that's scary. But it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain has adapted to something it was never designed for. And the beautiful part is, it can adapt back. Your brain is young, which means it can heal faster than you think. Every single day you stay sober, your brain is literally rebuilding healthy connections. Think of it like clearing fog from a windshield. The more days you give it, the clearer your life becomes. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. You have more neuroplasticity right now in your teens and early 20s than you'll ever have again. That means your chances of full recovery are incredible. You can literally teach your brain to crave peace instead of alcohol. Recovery doesn't mean giving up fun or friends. It means finding joy that doesn't come with regret. Imagine waking up clear-headed, remembering everything, feeling proud of what you did instead of ashamed. Imagine being in control again, not wondering what you said or did last night. That's what freedom feels like. And if you're thinking, I want that, but I don't know where to start here. Talk to someone, a school counselor, a trusted adult, a recovery hotline. There are people who will listen, not judge. People who've been exactly where you are and made it out stronger. You don't have to figure this out alone. You don't need to label yourself or have it all together. You just need to take one honest step. And If this video helped you, please share it. You might save someone's life without even realizing it. This is Recovery Bridge, reminding you that it's never too late to build a bridge back to yourself. I'll see you in the next one.
I thought my life was over. I remember standing in that sterile hallway, clutching my duffel bag like it was the last piece of my old life, watching my parents drive away through the reinforced glass windows. The intake counselor was saying something about orientation and room assignments, but all I could think was how everyone at school would find out, how my college dreams were toast, how I'd gone from honor roll to complete failure in less than 6 months. The Adderall that started as study help for my AP classes had somehow turned me into this hollow shell of a person who couldn't function without pills. And now I was here, in what felt like prison for kids who couldn't get their act together. Those first few days were absolute hell, and I was furious at everyone who put me there. I'd wake up at 6 in the morning for mandatory breakfast, sit through group sessions where I refused to speak, and spend every free minute plotting how to convince my parents this was all a huge mistake. The counselors kept talking about healing and recovery, but all I heard was punishment. I'd been the perfect student my entire life, never missed curfew, never got in trouble, and suddenly I was being treated like some kind of criminal just because I needed help staying focused on my studies. The withdrawal symptoms made everything worse. I couldn't concentrate on anything. My body felt like it was crawling with ants, and I spent most nights staring at the ceiling wondering how long 30 days could possibly take. Every time someone mentioned addiction or drug abuse, I wanted to scream that they didn't understand, that this wasn't the same thing as kids smoking weed behind the school or drinking at parties. The other teens in my unit seemed just as angry and confused as I was, which somehow made me feel even more isolated. During those first group sessions, I'd sit in my plastic chair and judge everyone else's stories, thinking there was no way my situation was anything like theirs. There was Marcus, who'd been selling his mom's prescription painkillers to buy video games, and Sarah, who started drinking at 13 after her parents' divorce. Then there was Dylan, quiet kid with perfect grades who'd been cutting himself with razor blades hidden in his textbooks. I convinced myself I was different, that I didn't belong with these kids who had real problems, real trauma, real reasons to mess up their lives. My problem was academic pressure, not some deep emotional issue, and I just needed to get back to school and prove I could handle things on my own. But something started shifting during my second week, when we had this group session about stigma and shame. Sarah was talking about how she used to think kids in rehab were losers and dropouts, and then she laughed this bitter laugh and said she realized she'd become everything she used to judge. Marcus nodded and admitted he'd always pictured drug addicts as scary homeless people, not honor students or star athletes or kids from good families. When it was my turn to share, I found myself saying out loud for the first time that I'd been taking 60 milligrams of Adderall daily just to write essays and study for tests, that I'd been stealing pills from friends and buying them online when my fake symptoms stopped working with doctors. The words felt strange coming out of my mouth, but nobody looked shocked or disgusted. Dylan just nodded and said he'd been popping his sister's anxiety medication before every test because he couldn't handle the pressure of maintaining his 4.0 GPA. That night, lying in my narrow bed listening to my roommate's breathing, something clicked for me about why I was really there. These weren't bad kids who'd made terrible choices out of rebellion or stupidity. We were all just teenagers who'd found chemicals that helped us cope with things we didn't know how to handle. Whether that was academic pressure, family problems, social anxiety, or just the overwhelming difficulty of being 15 in a world that expected us to have everything figured out. Marcus had been dealing with his parents' constant fighting. Sarah felt invisible after her little brother was born with special needs. And Dylan carried the weight of being the perfect son in a family where anything less than excellence meant disappointment. My need to excel academically had led me down the same path as their need to numb emotional pain. And that realization was both terrifying and oddly comforting. The real breakthrough came during an education session about how addiction actually affects teenage brains. Our counselor explained that adolescent brains are still developing, especially the parts responsible for decision-making and impulse control, which makes us more vulnerable to developing dependencies on substances that alter our brain chemistry. When I learned that stimulants like Adderall actually change the way your brain produces and processes dopamine, Suddenly, my experience made scientific sense instead of feeling like a personal moral failing. The reason I couldn't focus without pills wasn't because I was lazy or weak, but because my brain had essentially been rewired to expect artificial stimulation. Understanding that addiction was a medical condition, not a character flaw, lifted this crushing weight of shame I'd been carrying around. For the first time since starting treatment, I stopped seeing myself as a failure and started seeing myself as someone who needed help healing from an illness. Learning about my brain also helped me understand why all my previous attempts to quit cold turkey had failed so spectacularly. The counselors taught us about neuroplasticity and how teenage brains are actually incredibly good at forming new neural pathways, which meant recovery was possible but required specific strategies designed for how young minds work. We practiced mindfulness techniques that seemed silly at first, but actually helped me notice when I was feeling overwhelmed before reaching crisis mode. They taught us about natural ways to boost dopamine through exercise, social connection, and accomplishing small goals, which gave me hope that I could feel motivated and focused again without chemicals. We learned breathing exercises for anxiety, journaling techniques for processing emotions, and how to identify our personal triggers and warning signs. The group therapy sessions became less intimidating once I started participating honestly, and I discovered that talking through my experiences with peers who understood what I was going through was incredibly healing. We'd share strategies for handling stress, celebrate small victories like sleeping through the night or eating a full meal, and call each other out when someone was making excuses or avoiding difficult emotions. Having Dylan understand exactly what I meant when I described the panic of facing a blank page without Adderall, or having Sarah relate to the guilt of disappointing parents who'd sacrificed so much for my education, made me feel less alone than I'd felt in months. These kids became my first real friends in years, people I could be completely honest with about my struggles without fear of judgment or rejection. Family therapy sessions were probably the hardest part of the entire program, even though they ended up being incredibly healing for all of us. My parents had been blaming themselves for not noticing my addiction sooner, wondering if their high expectations had pushed me toward needing pharmaceutical help to meet their standards. I had to explain that their love and support had never been conditional on my grades, but that I'd internalized so much pressure to succeed that failure felt like the end of the world. We talked about how my perfectionism had actually been a warning sign they didn't know to look for, how my straight A's and early admission to AP classes had masked the fact that I was drowning internally. My mom cried when she realized that all those late nights she thought I was being dedicated to my studies, I was actually staying up because I couldn't sleep after taking stimulants. Rebuilding trust with my parents took time, and lots of uncomfortable conversations about boundaries, expectations, and communication. They had to learn that asking about my recovery wasn't the same as checking up on whether I was using, and I had to learn that accepting help wasn't admitting weakness. We established new routines around homework and studying that prioritized my mental health over perfect grades, and my parents started therapy themselves to work through their own feelings about my addiction. The family sessions taught us how to talk about difficult topics without everyone getting defensive, how to express disappointment without blame, and how to celebrate progress without ignoring ongoing challenges. By the time I completed the program, we felt like a family again, instead of 3 people walking on eggshells around each other. Coming home after 30 days felt surreal, like returning to a place that looked familiar but felt completely different. School was challenging at first because I had to relearn how to study and focus without chemical assistance, and my grades definitely suffered while my brain readjusted to functioning naturally. But I discovered that I could still learn and succeed academically, just at a more sustainable pace and with better balance between work and rest. Some of my friendships changed because I couldn't relate to the pressure cooker mentality that had previously defined my social circle. But I formed deeper connections with people who valued more than just academic achievement. I started seeing a therapist regularly, joined the school's peer support group, and became more involved in activities that brought me genuine joy instead of just looking good on college applications. Recovery isn't a destination you reach and then stay at forever, and I'd be lying if I said every day has been easy since leaving treatment. There are still moments when I'm facing a difficult assignment or stressful situation where my brain suggests that just one pill would make everything manageable again. The difference is that now I have tools for recognizing those thoughts, reaching out for support, and finding healthier ways to cope with pressure and anxiety. I've learned to see setbacks and struggles as normal parts of life, rather than emergencies requiring chemical intervention. My relationship with my parents continues to grow stronger as we practice the communication skills we learned in family therapy, and I'm genuinely excited about my future in ways that don't depend on being perfect. Rehab didn't end my life at 15. It saved it and gave me the chance to discover who I actually am, underneath all that pressure and artificial stimulation. If you're watching this and struggling with similar issues, please know that getting help isn't giving up on your dreams or admitting you're broken. If this helped you, please share with someone that needs it. Do not forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notification icon for more topics on addiction. It's choosing to invest in becoming the healthiest, most authentic version of yourself. And parents are always shocked when I tell them these 5 things they're unknowingly doing that push their teenagers towards substance use. These aren't bad parents or broken families. These are loving, well-intentioned moms and dads who would do anything for their kids, yet their very attempts to protect and guide are creating the exact conditions that increase addiction risk. What I'm about to share might sting a little, but understanding these patterns is the difference between raising a resilient teenager and accidentally creating one who turns to substances to cope with life. Before we dive in, if this content helps your family, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Share this video with other parents who need to hear this message, and give it a like if you find value in what we're discussing today. Your engagement helps us reach more families who desperately need this information. The first behavior that increases substance use risk is over-control, which triggers rebellion. Picture this scenario. Sarah's mom checks her phone every night, demands to know exactly where she is every minute, chooses her clothes, her friends, and even her extracurricular activities. When Sarah turns 16, she's never learned to make independent decisions or handle freedom responsibly. Research from the University of Rochester shows that teenagers with controlling parents are significantly more likely to engage in risky behaviors, including substance use, as they desperately seek autonomy and control over their own lives. The irony is heartbreaking. In trying to protect our kids from every possible danger, we rob them of the decision-making skills they need to navigate real-world temptations. Here's what this looks like in practice. Helicopter parents who hover over homework, solve every problem, and never let their teenager experience natural consequences are actually setting them up for rebellion. When these kids finally get freedom, often in college or when they can drive, they go wild because they've never learned self-regulation. Instead of over-controlling, start building trust gradually. Give your teenager age-appropriate choices and let them experience the natural consequences of their decisions while you're still there to guide them. When your 15-year-old wants to hang out with friends, instead of saying no or demanding every detail, try saying, "Help me understand your plan so I can feel comfortable with this." This shifts the dynamic from control to collaboration while still maintaining your parental role. The second dangerous behavior is emotional unavailability during crisis moments. Imagine 16-year-old Marcus comes home devastated because his girlfriend broke up with him, and his dad immediately launches into problem-solving mode, or dismisses his feelings with, "You'll get over it," or "There are plenty of fish in the sea." Or consider when 14-year-old Emma tries to talk to her mom about feeling overwhelmed at school, but mom is scrolling her phone, responding with, without really listening. Family systems research consistently shows that teenagers who don't feel emotionally supported at home are 3 times more likely to seek comfort through substances. When we're emotionally unavailable, we're essentially teaching our kids that their feelings don't matter and that they need to find other ways to cope with pain. This might look like being too busy with work to really listen, minimizing their problems because they seem small compared to adult responsibilities, or immediately jumping to fix-it mode instead of just being present with their emotions. The corrective action here requires us to slow down and show up emotionally. When your teenager is hurting, resist the urge to immediately solve or dismiss. Instead, try, "This sounds really hard. Tell me more about what you're feeling." Put down your phone, make eye contact, and create space for their emotions without judgment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply witness their pain and let them know they're not alone in it. The third behavior is maintaining inconsistent boundaries that create confusion and insecurity. Picture the Johnson family, where the rules change depending on dad's mood or mom's stress level. On Monday, curfew is 10 o'clock and absolutely non-negotiable. On Friday, when parents are relaxed and happy, the same teenager can stay out until midnight without consequence. Or consider families where one parent says yes while the other says no, and kids learn to shop around for the answer they want. Research from the American Academy of Pediatrics shows that inconsistent parenting creates anxiety in teenagers and increases their likelihood of seeking external ways to manage that anxiety, including substance use. Inconsistent boundaries don't just confuse teenagers. They actually increase their stress levels because they never know what to expect. Kids thrive with predictable structure, even when they push against it. When rules constantly shift, teenagers lose trust in their parents' leadership and start making their own rules, often with disastrous consequences. The solution requires getting aligned as parents and sticking to agreed-upon boundaries, regardless of your mood or convenience. If you realize a rule needs changing, have a family meeting to discuss it rather than just randomly enforcing different standards. Your teenager should know what to expect and be able to count on consistency from you, even when you're tired, stressed, or having a bad day. The fourth behavior that increases risk is modeling unhealthy coping mechanisms right in front of our kids. This is perhaps the most uncomfortable truth for many parents. Consider the mom who reaches for wine every time she's had a stressful day at work, essentially teaching her daughter that alcohol is how we handle difficult emotions. Or think about the dad who takes prescription pills beyond what's prescribed because he needs to relax, showing his son that substances are acceptable solutions to life's pressures. We might think our teenagers aren't paying attention, but research from the National Institute on Drug Abuse shows that parental substance use is one of the strongest predictors of teen substance use. Our kids are watching how we cope with stress, disappointment, and pain. If we consistently turn to substances when life gets hard, we're inadvertently teaching them that this is normal and acceptable behavior. This doesn't mean you can never have a glass of wine or take prescribed medication, but it does mean being mindful of what messages your coping strategies send. The corrective action involves demonstrating healthy ways to manage stress and emotions. Let your teenagers see you going for a walk when you're frustrated, calling a friend when you need support, or taking time to pray or meditate when you're overwhelmed. Verbalize your healthy coping strategies so they understand you're making intentional choices about how to handle life's challenges. The fifth and final behavior is creating perfectionist pressure that makes substances seem like relief. Picture the family where grades matter more than mental health, where image and achievement trump everything else. 17-year-old Alex is drowning under the pressure to get into an elite college while maintaining perfect grades, leading 3 clubs, and playing varsity sports. When the stress becomes unbearable, substances offer a temporary escape from impossible expectations. Studies from the American Psychological Association show that teenagers in high-pressure environments are significantly more likely to use substances as a way to cope with stress and anxiety. Perfectionist pressure often masquerades as high expectations or wanting the best for our kids, but it actually communicates that our love and approval depend on their performance. When we focus exclusively on achievements and outcomes, we miss opportunities to support our teenagers' emotional and mental well-being. The corrective approach involves clearly separating your love from their performance. Make sure your teenager knows you love them regardless of their grades, achievements, or mistakes. Celebrate effort over outcomes, and make their mental health a priority equal to their academic success. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is give your teenager permission to be imperfect and remind them that your relationship isn't conditional on their achievements. Here's the hope I want you to hold on to. Awareness is the first step to healing your family. None of these patterns is permanent, and recognizing them means you're already on the path toward change. Start by choosing one area where you see yourself and commit to small, consistent changes. Have honest conversations with your teenager about what they need from you. Remember that perfect parenting doesn't exist, but connected, authentic relationships do create resilience against addiction and other risks. Your family's story isn't over. Every day offers new opportunities to show up differently, to love more intentionally, and to create the kind of home where your teenager feels safe, valued, and supported through whatever challenges they face. That foundation of unconditional love and genuine connection is the strongest protection you can offer against the dangers of this world. If this video was helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss content that could make a real difference in your life. And if you think someone else needs to hear this message, share it with them. Always remember, addiction is not a moral failing. See you in the next video. Starts the same way. You're at a party, maybe feeling a little awkward or left out, and someone offers you something. They say it'll help you relax, have more fun, fit in better. Or maybe you're dealing with stress from school, family drama, or just feeling like everything sucks. Whatever the reason, that first time seems harmless enough. Just one night, just this once, what could go wrong? Here's the thing though. Addiction doesn't announce itself with warning signs and flashing lights. It creeps up slowly, disguised as fun and freedom, until suddenly you realize you're trapped. Understanding how this happens isn't about scaring you. It's about giving you the power to recognize the signs before things spiral out of control. Stage 1 looks exactly like what most people think normal teenage experimentation should look like. You try something at a party and honestly, it's pretty fun. Maybe it's alcohol and you feel more confident talking to people. Maybe it's weed and suddenly that boring movie everyone's watching is hilarious. Perhaps it's pills someone says will help you stay awake to study or lose weight. Whatever it is, that first experience usually feels positive. You're laughing with friends, having experiences you've never had before, and nothing bad happens. You wake up the next day feeling fine, maybe even a little proud that you tried something new. During this stage, use is totally social and seems completely under control. You only do it when you're with certain friends or at specific events. You might go weeks or even months between uses. Your grades are still decent, your parents haven't noticed anything different, and you're not thinking about substances when you're not using them. This is the stage where it's easiest to convince yourself that you're just having normal teenage experiences. Everyone else seems to be doing it too, right? The key thing about stage 1 is that consequences are either non-existent or so minor, they're easy to brush off. Maybe you feel a little sick the next day, or your parents smell something on your clothes, but nothing major happens. The transition from stage 1 to stage 2 is so gradual that most people don't notice it happening. What starts as occasional weekend use slowly becomes more frequent. Maybe you used to only drink at parties, but now you're having a few drinks after school to unwind. Or you used to only smoke weed on weekends, but now you're getting high before boring classes or family dinners. The biggest shift is that you start using substances not just for fun, but to deal with feelings or situations that stress you out. Stage 2 is where your tolerance starts building, meaning you need more of whatever you're using to get the same effect. That one drink that used to make you feel relaxed now barely does anything, so you have 2 or 3. The pill that used to keep you alert all night now requires taking 2 or 3 to get the same result. This is also when lying becomes part of your routine, even if you don't think of it as lying. You tell your parents you're studying at a friend's house when you're really getting high. You say you're tired from sports practice when really you're hungover. You start keeping breath mints, eye drops, or perfume handy to cover up evidence. Your performance starts slipping during stage 2, but gradually enough that you can usually make excuses. Your grades might drop from A's to B's and C's, but you tell yourself it's because classes got harder. You might quit activities you used to love or start missing practices, but you blame it on being too busy or stressed. Sleep patterns get weird. You might be more irritable with family and friends, and you start planning your schedule around when and where you can use substances. The scary part about stage 2 is that you can still function pretty normally most of the time, which makes it easy to deny that anything serious is happening. Stage 3 is where everything changes dramatically. Substances aren't just something fun you do anymore. They become the center of your entire world. You wake up thinking about when you can use again. You plan your whole day around opportunities to get high or drunk. School becomes secondary to finding ways to use. and you might start skipping classes regularly or even dropping out. Relationships with family and old friends become strained or completely broken because they're getting in the way of your substance use or calling you out on your behavior. The consequences in stage 3 are impossible to ignore. You might get suspended from school, arrested, kicked out of your house, or lose important relationships. Your physical and mental health start showing serious signs of damage. You might have blackouts, panic attacks, or physical symptoms when you can't use substances. The worst part is that even when these major consequences happen, you still feel like you can't stop using. The substances that once made you feel good now just make you feel normal, and without them, everything feels impossible to handle. But here's what's crucial to understand about stage 3. Even when things seem hopeless, recovery is absolutely possible. Addiction isn't a moral failing or a lack of willpower. It's a medical condition that changes how your brain works. The earlier you recognize these patterns and get help, the easier recovery becomes. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself in stage 1 or 2, you have a huge advantage because you're catching it before it completely takes over your life. Recovery looks different for everyone, but it usually involves both professional help and strong support systems. This might mean talking to a counselor, joining a support group, going to outpatient or inpatient treatment, or working with doctors who understand addiction. The important thing is that you don't have to figure it out alone. There are people specifically trained to help teenagers navigate these challenges, and they understand that your brain is still developing and that you deserve a second chance to build the life you want. If you're worried about yourself or someone you care about, there are resources available right now. You can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, which also handles substance abuse crises. The SAMHSA National Helpline at 1-800-662-4357 provides confidential, free treatment referrals and information 24 hours a day. Many schools have counselors who can help connect you with resources, and there are online support groups specifically for teenagers dealing with substance use issues. The most important thing to remember is that recognizing these stages early gives you power over your situation. Addiction tries to convince you that you're broken or worthless, but that's not true. You're a person with inherent worth who deserves support, understanding, and the chance to build a healthy, fulfilling life. Whether you're in stage 1, 2, or 3, it's never too early or too late to reach out for help. If this video helped you understand something important about yourself or someone you care about, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss content that could make a real difference in your life. And if you think someone else needs to hear this message, share it with them. Sometimes knowing you're not alone in this struggle is the first step toward getting help. Always remember this: addiction isn't a moral failing. The star athlete with a full scholarship. The pastor's kid who led youth group every Wednesday night. When we picture addiction, these aren't the faces that come to mind, are they? But here's what might shock you. Addiction doesn't check your report card, your trophy case, or your family's reputation before it knocks on your door. I'm here today to shatter one of the most dangerous myths in our society: the myth of the good kid who's somehow immune to addiction. This belief isn't just wrong, it's deadly. It prevents us from seeing the warning signs, getting help when we need it, and supporting the people we love most. If you've ever wondered how addiction really works, or if you're struggling to understand how someone you thought you knew could be battling this disease, this video is going to change everything you think you know. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because we're diving deep into topics that could literally save lives. Let's start with some numbers that'll make you rethink everything. According to recent data, addiction affects people across every demographic imaginable. College students, who we often think of as having bright futures ahead of them, actually have some of the highest rates of substance abuse. Professionals in high-stress careers, doctors, lawyers, executives, show addiction rates that mirror or exceed the general population. Even more surprising, prescription drug abuse often begins in households where parents thought they were doing everything right. The truth is, when we cling to the good kid myth, we're not protecting anyone. We're actually making the problem worse. Because when someone who's supposed to be good start struggling with addiction, they face a double burden. Not only are they fighting the disease itself, but they're also battling the shame of not living up to an impossible standard. So what really puts someone at risk for addiction? Let's break down the real factors, because understanding these could be the difference between catching a problem early and watching it spiral out of control. First up is genetics. This one's uncomfortable because it means addiction isn't always about choices or character. If you have a family history of addiction, your brain might be wired differently. It's like having a different tolerance for spicy food. Some people can handle more heat than others, and some brains are more susceptible to the rewarding effects of substances. This doesn't mean you're doomed if addiction runs in your family, but it does mean you need to be more aware and more careful. Then there's trauma, and here's where the good kid myth really falls apart. Trauma doesn't only happen to kids from broken homes. The honor student might be dealing with sexual abuse that nobody knows about. The star quarterback might have witnessed domestic violence. The straight A student might be struggling with the pressure of perfectionism that feels crushing. Trauma is an equal opportunity destroyer, and it often hides behind perfect facades. Mental health is another huge factor that gets overlooked. Depression doesn't care about your GPA. Anxiety doesn't skip over kids with college scholarships. When someone is struggling with untreated mental health issues, substances can feel like the only relief available. That prescription medication for ADHD that helps with focus can also trigger addictive behaviors. The anti-anxiety medication that makes social situations bearable can become a crutch that's impossible to put down. Speaking of social pressure, let's talk about how this works in supposedly good environments. The pressure to maintain a perfect image can actually increase the risk of addiction. When you're expected to excel at everything, the temptation to use substances for performance enhancement or stress relief becomes overwhelming. Study drugs like Adderall become common in competitive academic environments. Alcohol becomes the way to decompress after maintaining that perfect image all day. And here's something that might surprise you. Prescription medications are often the gateway for people who never thought they'd struggle with addiction. Someone gets wisdom teeth removed, receives a prescription for opioids, and discovers that these pills don't just manage physical pain, they make emotional pain disappear too. Someone gets prescribed benzodiazepines for anxiety and finds that they work so well that stopping seems impossible. These aren't bad kids making bad choices. These are people following doctors' orders who got caught in addiction's trap. The reality is that addiction is fundamentally about human vulnerability, not moral failing. We all have vulnerabilities. Maybe yours is the need to be perfect. Maybe it's the fear of disappointing others. Maybe it's unprocessed grief or overwhelming stress. Addiction often starts as an attempt to manage these very human struggles. What makes this even more tragic is how the good kid myth prevents people from getting help. When you're supposed to be the success story, admitting you need help feels like admitting you're a fraud. The valedictorian doesn't want to lose their scholarship. The athlete doesn't want to lose their spot on the team. The pastor's kid doesn't want to bring shame to their family. So they suffer in silence until the problem becomes impossible to hide. But here's what I want you to understand. Struggling with addiction doesn't make you less valuable as a human being. Your worth isn't determined by your achievements or your mistakes. You are not your addiction, just like you are not your depression or your anxiety or any other health condition you might face. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your engagement helps these messages reach people who might be struggling in silence. The most important thing to remember is this: if addiction can happen to anyone, then recovery can happen to anyone too. The same intelligence that earned those good grades can be channeled into understanding addiction and recovery. The same determination that won those games can be applied to building healthy coping mechanisms. The same heart that wanted to make their family proud can learn to find pride in taking care of themselves. Recovery isn't about going back to being the good kid you were before. It's about becoming the whole, authentic person you were always meant to be. And that person is worth fighting for. Addiction can happen to anyone, which means recovery can too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. where we'll explore the surprising ways that shame actually fuels addiction and what you can do about it. Until then, be kind to yourself and others. You never know what battles people are fighting their entire lives, while others become completely dependent after just a few months. The answer isn't what you think, and it's definitely not about willpower or moral character. What I'm about to share with you will completely change how you understand addiction forever. I'm going to take you inside the actual brain of someone experiencing addiction, show you the fascinating science behind why certain people are more vulnerable than others, and explain why everything we've been taught about addiction recovery has been backwards. By the end of this video, you'll understand why treating addiction like a moral failing has caused more harm than help, and what actually works instead. Let's start with what's really happening in your brain when addiction takes hold. Imagine your brain as a sophisticated reward system that's been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution. Every time you experience something pleasurable, whether it's eating food, having sex, or achieving a goal, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine in a region called the nucleus accumbens. This is your brain's way of saying, "That was good for survival. Remember this and do it again." Now here's where it gets interesting. Addictive substances hijack this exact same system, but they flood it with dopamine at levels that are 10 to 100 times higher than anything natural. Cocaine, for example, blocks the removal of dopamine from your brain synapses, creating an artificial high that your natural reward system simply cannot compete with. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. Your brain isn't stupid. When it's constantly flooded with artificial dopamine, it starts to adapt. It reduces the number of dopamine receptors and decreases natural dopamine production. This is called neuroadaptation, and it means that over time you need more of the substance just to feel normal, let alone good. Meanwhile, everything else in your life that used to bring pleasure, like spending time with family, enjoying hobbies, or even eating food, starts to feel incredibly dull and unrewarding. This explains why people in active addiction often seem to lose interest in everything they once loved. It's not that they've become selfish or weak. Their brain chemistry has literally been rewired to prioritize the addictive substance above everything else, including basic survival needs. But why do some people develop addiction while others don't? This is where the science gets really fascinating. Research shows that addiction vulnerability is determined by a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and timing. Genetics account for roughly 40 to 60% of your addiction risk. If you have parents or siblings with addiction, you're significantly more likely to develop it yourself, not because of learned behavior, but because of inherited differences in brain chemistry. Environmental factors play a huge role too. Childhood trauma, chronic stress, social isolation, and early exposure to substances all increase addiction risk dramatically. People who experience abuse or neglect in childhood are several times more likely to develop addiction later in life. This isn't coincidence. Trauma actually changes brain development, particularly in areas responsible for decision-making and stress regulation. The timing of first use is absolutely critical. The adolescent brain doesn't finish developing until around age 25, particularly the prefrontal cortex, which handles decision-making and impulse control. When someone starts using addictive substances during adolescence, they're literally rewiring their brain during its most vulnerable developmental period. This is why people who start drinking or using drugs as teenagers have much higher rates of addiction than those who start as adults. Now let's talk about what happens when someone tries to quit. The withdrawal process isn't just about physical discomfort, though that's certainly part of it. When you remove the addictive substance, the brain is left with depleted dopamine systems and hypersensitive stress responses. Everything feels overwhelming, nothing feels rewarding, and the brain is desperately seeking the one thing it knows will provide relief. This creates powerful cravings that can persist for months or even years after quitting. This is why willpower alone is rarely sufficient for recovery. You're essentially asking someone to use a damaged decision-making system to override overwhelming neurochemical signals. It's like asking someone with a broken leg to run a marathon by trying harder. So what actually works? The most effective treatments target the underlying brain changes caused by addiction. Medications like naltrexone and buprenorphine help restore normal brain chemistry and reduce cravings. Behavioral therapies teach people how to recognize triggers and develop new coping strategies. Support groups provide the social connection that's crucial for rewiring the brain's reward pathways around healthy relationships rather than substances. The key insight here is that addiction recovery isn't about becoming a different person or developing superhuman willpower. It's about giving the brain time and support to heal from the neurochemical damage caused by addiction. This process typically takes months or years, not days or weeks, which is why long-term support is so important. Understanding addiction as a medical condition rather than a moral failing changes everything. It means we can develop better treatments, reduce stigma, and actually help people recover instead of shaming them into hiding. When we treat addiction with the same compassion and evidence-based approaches we use for other medical conditions, recovery rates improve dramatically. The science is clear. Addiction is a chronic brain disease that requires medical treatment, not moral judgment. The more we understand the neuroscience behind addiction, the better equipped we become to help people heal and rebuild their lives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore why smart, good kids still get addicted. Until then, be kind to yourself and others. You never know what battles people are fighting.
Why I couldn't stay sober, it wasn't because I was weak. It wasn't because I didn't want it enough. It was because I had zero boundaries. In this video, I'm breaking down 3 signs you lack boundaries and why that's actually the real reason you keep relapsing. Let's get into it. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. This video is for anyone who keeps relapsing and can't figure out why. You go to meetings, you want to stay sober, you're trying, but something keeps pulling you back. The problem isn't your willpower. The problem is you haven't learned how to set and protect boundaries. And without boundaries, relapse isn't just possible, it's almost inevitable. Sign number 1 that you lack boundaries. You can't say no to people, even when saying yes puts your sobriety at risk. What this looks like? Your friends invite you to a party where there'll be drinking or drugs, and you go because you don't want to disappoint them. Someone asks to borrow money and you give it to them even though you know they're using. Your family pressures you to attend an event at a bar, and you cave. Here's what's actually happening. You're prioritizing other people's feelings over your own sobriety. You're afraid of conflict, afraid of being seen as difficult, afraid of losing people. So you say yes when you should say no. I did this constantly in early recovery. Someone would text me, "Come hang out, we're going to this place," and I knew I shouldn't go. And I'd think, well, maybe I'll be fine. I don't want them to think I'm being dramatic. Spoiler, I was never fine. I relapsed every single time. Boundaries aren't about being mean or selfish. They're about protecting your recovery. And if someone gets upset because you won't compromise your sobriety for them, they don't actually care about you. They care about their own comfort. Start practicing simple phrases like, "No, I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. I need to protect my sobriety. Full stop. No long explanation required. No apology needed." Sign number 2. You let people guilt trip or manipulate you into situations that trigger you. This is different from just saying yes. This is when people actively push and you feel pressured into giving in. It sounds like, "Come on, one drink won't hurt. You're not fun anymore since you got sober. If you really cared about me, you'd come. You're being overdramatic," and you cave, not because you want to relapse, but because you don't want conflict, or you start believing maybe they're right. Here's the truth. People who manipulate you into compromising your sobriety are not your friends. They're people who benefit from you staying sick. Maybe they're using too, and your sobriety makes them uncomfortable. Maybe they like the version of you they can control. I had a friend in early recovery who always pushed me to just have one beer. She'd say, "You're not really an alcoholic, you're just being dramatic. One won't hurt." Every time I listened, I relapsed. She wasn't a friend. She was someone who needed me to stay sick so she could feel better about her own drinking. When someone guilt trips you, the answer is still no. When someone manipulates you, the answer is still no. Protect your boundaries like your life depends on it, because in recovery, it does. Sign number 3. You don't communicate your needs clearly, so people don't even know what your boundaries are. This one is subtle, but it's huge. You expect people to just magically know what you need, but you never actually say it. So you drop hints instead of speaking clearly, get upset when people cross boundaries you never communicated, feel hurt and unsupported, and then use that as fuel to relapse. What this looks like: you're struggling with cravings, but you don't tell anyone. You're triggered by certain situations, but you don't speak up. You need support, but instead of asking, you wait and hope someone will notice. Then, when they don't, you feel alone, misunderstood, and you reach for what's familiar. Here's what I learned the hard way: people are not mind readers. If you don't tell them what you need, they can't support you. If you don't tell them your boundaries, they will cross them, often without even knowing. This means saying things like, I can't be around alcohol right now. I need you not to talk about partying around me. I'm having a hard day and I need to call someone. Can you check in on me a little more often right now? It feels vulnerable, it might feel needy, but it's the only way to build a support system that actually works. When people know your boundaries, they can respect them. Here's why lacking boundaries almost guarantees relapse. Recovery is about protecting yourself from people, places, and situations that threaten your sobriety. If you can't say no, let people guilt or manipulate you, and don't communicate what you need, you're constantly putting yourself in danger. Every time you go somewhere you know you shouldn't be, every time you stay in a toxic relationship, every time you need help and stay silent, you're taking one more step closer to relapse. Boundaries create the safe space where recovery can actually happen. Without boundaries, you're trying to stay sober in the middle of chaos, and that doesn't work. The people who stay sober long term aren't the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones with the strongest boundaries. So, how do you actually build boundaries if you've never had them? Step 1: identify your boundaries. What situations trigger you? Who is unhealthy for your recovery? What do you need to feel safe? Step 2: communicate them clearly. Tell people directly what you need and what you won't tolerate. Step 3: enforce them. When someone crosses your boundary, address it. If they keep crossing it, you limit or remove them from your life. Step 4: expect pushback. People who benefited from you having no boundaries will be upset when you set them. Let them be upset. Your sobriety is more important than their comfort. Step 5: get support. Talk to your sponsor, therapist, or support group about boundaries. Practice saying no. Role play the hard conversations. You don't have to figure this out alone. If you keep relapsing, don't just ask, what's wrong with me? Ask, where are my boundaries missing? Chances are it's not that you're weak, it's that you've been trying to stay sober without any protection. Start building your boundaries today. This is Recovery Bridge. Resources are linked below.
Promise yourself this is the last time, and then you use again. Everyone tells you just have more willpower, try harder, want it more. But here's the truth: willpower is not the problem, your brain is literally hijacked. Let me show you why. Hey, I'm Recovery Bridge, where hope meets healing. This video is for anyone who keeps relapsing and feels like a failure. You think you're weak, you think you just don't want sobriety enough. But the real reason you can't stop has almost nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with neuroscience. Understanding this could literally save your life. First, let's talk about what drugs actually do to your brain. Every substance you use floods your brain with dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical that's released when you eat, have sex, or accomplish something. Normal activities release a controlled amount of dopamine. Drugs release 2 to 10 times more dopamine than anything natural. Your brain was never designed to handle that level of stimulation. So your brain goes, whoa, that was intense. This must be really important for survival. Let's remember exactly how we got this feeling so we can do it again. It creates powerful neural pathways that link the drug to pleasure and survival. Over time, your brain actually changes its structure to prioritize getting that dopamine hit from drugs. It rewires itself to believe the drug is as essential as food and water. That's not a character flaw, that's your brain physically changing. And here's the brutal part. While your brain is becoming hypersensitive to drugs, it's becoming less sensitive to everything else. Food, relationships, hobbies, music, nature, they don't light up your brain like they used to. Only the drug works. This is called anhedonia. the inability to feel pleasure from normal things. So no, you're not just weak. Your brain has been chemically rewired to prioritize drugs over everything, including your own survival. Second thing you need to understand, drugs literally shut down the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and self-control. Your prefrontal cortex is like the CEO of your brain. It plans, it weighs consequences, it controls impulses, it helps you make rational decisions. When you're sober, it's the voice that says, "Hey, that's a bad idea, don't do that." But when you use drugs, or sometimes even when you're just craving, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. It's like the CEO leaves the building and the impulsive, emotional parts of your brain take over. This is why you can know using is a bad idea, know it will ruin your life, genuinely want to stop, and still pick up. Because in that moment, the rational part of your brain that knows better isn't in charge. The primitive survival-focused part that just wants the dopamine hit is running the show. And here's the kicker. The prefrontal cortex is the last part of the brain to fully develop. It doesn't finish until around age 25. So if you started using as a teen, your decision-making center wasn't even fully formed to begin with, and now substances are actively suppressing it. This is why just use willpower doesn't work. You can't willpower your way through a part of your brain being switched off. Third, cravings are not just wanting to get high. They're your brain screaming that it needs something to survive. When you get a craving, it's not, "Oh, using would be nice right now." It's more like an emergency alarm going off. Heart racing, sweating, obsessive thoughts, physical discomfort. Your brain is treating the absence of drugs the same way it would treat starvation or suffocation. Logically, you know you don't need drugs to survive, but your brain doesn't know that. It's been rewired to believe that you do. And cravings are triggered by cues. People, places, smells, emotions, stress, even certain times of day. Every time you used, your brain made associations. Now, when you encounter those cues, the same neural pathways light up and boom, instant craving. This is why you can be 6 months sober feeling solid, and then you drive past your old dealer's house and suddenly you're white-knuckling the steering wheel, fighting an overwhelming urge to use. That's not moral failure. That's a neurological response to a learned cue. The good news is those pathways can weaken over time, but it takes more than willpower. It takes time, avoiding triggers, and building new pathways through recovery behaviors. So why doesn't just stop work? Because you're fighting against a brain that's been rewired to treat drugs as essential for survival, a prefrontal cortex that goes offline when you need it most. Powerful cravings triggered by cues you can't always avoid. An anhedonia, where normal life feels flat, empty, and joyless. Telling someone with addiction to just use willpower is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. The system is broken. Willpower can't fix a broken system. So what does help? Medication-assisted treatment that helps rebalance brain chemistry. Therapy that retrains your brain and builds new coping pathways. Support systems that help you avoid triggers and ride out cravings. And time, because your brain can heal, but it takes months to years for those neural pathways to rewire. Recovery isn't about being strong enough to resist. It's about understanding what you're up against and using tools that actually address the neurological problem. Here's the hope. Your brain can heal. It's called neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself. Every day you don't use, your brain is slowly building new pathways. The dopamine system starts to recalibrate. The prefrontal cortex comes back online. Drug-centered pathways weaken. Normal pleasures start to feel good again. But it's slow. The first few months are brutal because your brain is still in crisis mode. That's why early recovery feels so hard. You're waiting for your brain to catch up to your decision to get sober. But around 3 to 6 months, many people report a shift. Cravings decrease. Things feel a little more manageable. Normal life starts to seem worth living again. By a year, your brain has made significant structural changes. You are not broken forever. Your brain is incredibly resilient. It can heal, but you have to give it time and the right support. You're not weak. Your brain is hijacked, but it can heal. Resources are linked below if you're ready to get help or learn more. I'm Recovery Bridge. See you next time.